I'm Brian Jones, and I'm chopping it up with my main man, Buck.
All right, we're gonna chop it up with Buck. I got my main man, Brian Jones. I've known him a long time, so I don't know what he's gonna say. I'm gonna just make that clear. Let's get that story out there because the very first time I met this brother, I was 17, he was 18. We were 17, 18 years old. We were on the recruiting tours, getting ready to go to college, and this brother was the loudest dude I'd ever met. He came to Houston, hung out with me, and we've been friends ever since. So, BJ, everybody knows you as the guy on CBS Sports, but we go way, way back. How you doing today?
My man. Anytime I hear Buck's name, I perk a big smile, and you're correct, man. I can still remember coming over to the house and the beans. Whoo! It was so good. You and Reggie teaching me how to do the Pee Wee Herman and driving me around. And all of the good parties. We don't party like this in Lubbock. Where come from, man? I think I can hang out with these cats and Taco Cabana.
Oh
My
man,
goodness, dude. Fond
you,
memories, man. It's great to be on your show.
yeah, yeah, good to have you. Now, the interesting thing that I didn't know or remember, you were born in Iowa and you moved to Lubbock. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, how did your family get from Lubbock? I mean, from Iowa to Lubbock, Texas.
I don't have one iota. All I know is I popped out there. Buck, you know my background, and I don't mind.
Yeah.
I shared it on national TV numerous times. I've never laid eyes on my biological. My biological mom was never really a part of my life. My grandma in another neighborhood raised me along with your mom and Reggie's mom and LA moms. It takes a village, and I truly am blessed with a number of coaches from the Pop Warner days all the way to the Bell days, man. So all I know is that's where I was born. And by the way, yesterday, man, I didn't get a gift from you.
I wish you a happy birthday, but I didn't get you a gift. No.
Listen, that's all that'll suffice these days. You just another one, right? You get to this
Yeah.
age, just keep them coming. So I have no memory of Iowa whatsoever. That's as the story was relayed to me. My biological mom was there working in the Job Corps, got knocked up, and boom. 5 months later, I pop out. And they shipped me off to Lubbock and with grandma, and that's where I was raised, and that's the only memories I have as you know young days. I know nothing about Iowa.
So I guess it's interesting. You were raised with Stacy, was that your biological brother or was that your
No,
adopted brother? Yeah,
dude, that's part of the village. That was
yeah,
his family. Somewhat adopted me as well.
yeah.
Brown, you know me, I can eat. I go knock on doors because I was hungry, and sometimes those welfare, they didn't come on time. So that welfare cheese, so you had to go knock on. We got the same last name. Let me in.
What was your first coach that got you interested in playing ball? Who was the
It
one that?
was Stacy's father,
Uh,
Arthur Jones, the late Jones, and I remember when he said that they were going to have a Pop Warner team. It was called U Public, and they were going to have a team on our side of the. And man, I was 10, and I'm happy. Don't know it, but I'm happy. I think the membership fee was about $20 of that nature. But I run home and I get my little Huffy helmet. You know, the little Christmas helmets you get, no padding, just a little suspension thing in there. I said, I
yeah.
got my helmet. Man, they looked crazy. They said, you must be nuts. I got the picture up here, my first Pop Warner team. This is it. And that's Arthur Jones, if you can
Okay.
see it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's E64. And that was our first Pop Warner team in love with Stacy's big head right there, big old afro. And man, I said I want to play. I had no money to play, and so end up paying all the fees for me. I have no cleats. That's why my feet are gnarly now. Look like
Yeah,
Fred
yeah,
Sanford's
yeah. They are
hands.
they are pretty bad.
Yeah. And dude, that was there. That's where it began. Pop Warner, the Panthers, American Legion Panthers, they're in love with.
When did you know you were going to start getting recruited? What was that like?
I remember after junior year, and I hadn't received any letters. The summer before my junior year, I hadn't received any letters, and I said, "Man, I'm gonna go write these schools myself." Somehow,
Mm.
publication with all the addresses for universities, and I'm just gonna write them. And lo and behold, my first two letters, Notre Dame and A&M.
Mm.
They reached out, and I said, "Well, I guess that's some work I don't have to do since these two, stalwarts and that kicking butt. Of course, Notre Dame, they've always been front and center nationally. So my junior year, heading into my junior year, and also, oh, the big thing in Texas is to be in that Dave Campbell Texas football.
What made you decide to go to UCLA though? That's the interesting thing. Why didn't you stay home? Like I get that question all the time. So
You two knuckleheads,
yeah,
you and Reggie, no. Hadn't met you guys yet, but I'd seen your
yeah.
names, of course, and all those lists that we all blessed to be on. I went out there, as you know, Lubbock, man. And it's real cold. When it's cold, I was just there for Christmas, dude. It was
Mm.
-8.
Oh yeah.
Mama, I'm going back. I just spaced on Christmas. It was too cold, baby. So I go out there on my recruiting trip. 80 degrees, man. And it's beautiful and it's diverse. And it was just so surreal. And my boy, I gotta mention my boy, Michael Warren. So
Oh yeah.
I wanted to major in communication. So they had Michael Warren strategically placed. He walking out of Paulie Pavilion or something as we were on campus. Mike comes out of
Now,
there,
for those
man.
folks that don't know, that's the Michael Warren on Hill Street Blues. He
Yep.
was a famous actor, but he was a UCLA basketball player. Now he
Yep.
does a lot of photography. I see him on Instagram.
Oh, dude,
Yeah,
I got paintings here, and his daughter Koa. I have one of her paintings. I went to one of their deals, LA, this past summer. They were showcasing some of their art.
yeah. Now it's interesting. We were there. Yeah, I used to beat you up in practice pretty well when you tried to cover me. So,
Listen, so we do our CBS does Army Navy. So this past December, I'm there in Philly, and I said, Coach, you just don't know how much trouble it's still these days from Buck and Fife imitating you, yelling at me over Buck. I was like,
I know. Yeah. I tell people all the time, in my 4 years at UCLA, there were about 32 to 35 guys that played at some point in the league, whether it was a cup of coffee or Hall of Famers like Troy. What about your
dude,
experience at
I was just
UCLA?
gonna
Yeah.
say that, Buck. That whole experience, the aesthetics, and then the caliber of athletes that were on campus. And I mean, it was amazing. And we had our guy, Henley at corner, and you mentioned Carnell, who did play safety in the league and has an exceptional career. But Norton, man, Kenny took me under his wing. He taught me how to practice. He taught me how to do a lot of which I utilize moving forward.
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
All right. Thanks to our sponsor, Thin Energy Hydration. Always, BJ thinks he's always hydrated, but I don't know. I'm starting to wonder. He's doing hot yoga. So, yeah, I know.
Dude,
Yeah.
gave up drinking a year and a half ago.
Oh, man. Good for you. Good for you. So tell us a little bit about, we were talking about Ken Norton and he took you under his wing, And what was that like? What, working with a
Kenny
guy
was
that,
great.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kenny was excellent. He was a great mentor. As you know, we used to make fun of him. That was at the height of the McDonald's Mac Tonight promotions. And that was Kenny with that long chin. He was Mac.
Hey, he hated flying too. Remember the times
Oh,
when
yes. Hated to fly. You talking about scared? That was him.
the other thing about UCLA from a player development, that's what I tell people now when you look at some of these teams where they'll ask guys to move. Maybe they weren't accustomed to playing certain positions, but they kind of projected. And that to me was one of the things those coaches did a really nice job for us, I remember in school.
Well, that and the fact you were around so many incredible, that's what really it was so UCLA. That was national recruiting, man. And they had from the East Coast, South, North, West, and you just had this kaleidoscope of dudes from the nation, and they found a way to jail, and they found the perfect position for everyone, and it was just so cool to be around so many well-rounded individuals from different parts of the nation, and that stuck with me also.
But all those good things, right? And you still end up transferring to Texas. What came into that decision to get back closer to home?
Buck, I loved UCLA, man. I ain't gonna lie. I had a blast. And you know what a body.
We got about 6 or 7 stories. I told Kevin we're gonna do it again live. Me, you, and Reggie. And I mean, it'll be shoot off. People want to hear this because it's so crazy some of the stuff we did, but I got it.
The reason I left is because one of the crazy things you and Reggie did to me, I just had back surgery.
We didn't do that.
I'm in the hospital. Stop. It's my story, damn it. I've been in the hospital for 8 days. I had a fusion at L5S1.
Yeah.
And then I was laid up in another house for about a week.
Yeah, go on, tell what you, yeah, see.
The statute of limitations is up, right?
I hope so.
Yeah, that was a different type of NIL.
Yeah.
And then so I'm back, and my buddy, former UCLA player, takes me out, gets me all sauced up, brings me back to the suites, knocks on the door, and leaves.
And put you on the door.
Leaves me on the door, leaves me on the door, knocks, and leaves.
And
they open the door, and boom.
Yeah, because there was no peepholes, but we heard the banging, and you just fall in, all 270 or 280 pounds of you at that time. So we had to carry your butt to the room and just threw you in the bed, cowboy boots and all. So that's why you transferred?
Listen, I transferred. The pull to go to University of Texas was so strong, and they recruited me coming out of high school. But because you know that the Southwest Conference is in turmoil, SMU had just gotten to death. Because everyone was being investigated in the Southwest Conference, and so I wanted to always be a Longhorn. I mean, they lost, I was crying. Cowboys lost, I was crying.
Yeah.
And so even though they were down, the pull, it was so strong. I wanted to go back to Tech, play for my Longhorns. And it worked out.
But when you transfer to Texas, the one thing that I was always intrigued by, there's a lot of tradition in Texas. The number 60 was one that a lot of white linebackers wore, but it wasn't a lot of brothers wearing it. Tommy Novus, Britt Hager, even his son got to wear it, Brecklin, for, after Tommy Novus's death, and then Derek Johnson wore it senior day. What was that like wearing the number 60 in the state of Texas?
Dude, it was great, but it was also disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, having followed Longhorns as in-depth as I did as a kid, I was well aware of the history behind that number. And Johnny Treadwell, there along with Novus and Jeff Lighting and all those guys. And then when I'm announcing that I'm gonna transfer from UCLA to Texas, Coach McWilliams offers me the opportunity to wear number 60. And I knew the history and the weight of that bad boy. I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
still, Brett Hager was still on campus. I had to sit out.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Year. And Brett was wearing it, and then he left, and then I wore it after that. And I'm the last player to have it as their primary number. I said it was harrowing and disturbing because you're pre-internet, man, and some things were shared with me. People were not too happy with a brother wearing that number.
Tell us a little bit about that experience of going back home and playing with some
Well,
of the cats.
that when I first got there, it was markedly different than UCLA because UCLA had a winning culture and they knew how to practice. They knew all those. And when I was speaking about Ken Norton Jr. earlier, this is where it really manifests itself. What he taught me is when I became one of the starters there at Texas and learning how to practice. But that being said, dude, I'm on the scout team and I'm wearing people out, and then I get fat and sloppy and let my training slide. So my junior year, man, I was a mess, a hot mess. But what we did heading into our senior year, we endeavored to change things, man. Coach McWilliams came to us after our 5 and 6 junior year, and he said, "Hey guys, y'all got to take ownership of this, and this is my plan. I want to take you out of that nice new weight room over there, and I'm going to put you back in that old bat feces infested weight room underneath the stadium."
Made you work hard. Yeah.
We got 6 a.m. workouts, Buck. And if you ever been in that little weight room, 120 plus dudes up in there, and it's funky. You got the bat feces, you got your own foul smells, and guys throwing up, and it allowed us to come together and congeal as a team, as one, and we turned that bad boy around. Ended up going 10-2, got as high as number 3 in the nation. Of course, got walloped in the Cotton Bowl. So it was beautiful heading into that season. First game of the year, we go off to Happy Valley, and we're not ranked; they are, and we beat Penn State up there in their house, and we knew we had really turned things around at that point.
Talk about the difference between college football and the NFL.
Well, I was hard-headed, man. I went to the wrong team first. Well, the Raiders drafted me, and they were in LA at the time. Mm-hmm. And I say they were the wrong team for me because, one, they were in LA, and I knew LA. And now I got some money in my pocket. Long story short, Raiders drafted me, released me. I go to the Colts, play for a year. Then I actually signed with the Dolphins, and I injured my back once again. And I'm just out in the wilderness at that point, wondering if I'm ever going to play again. Go back to the Raiders, but at that point, I'm just a body to them, man.
And during that time, though, you graduated from school.
No, that was later. That was later. I came back once I was done totally after my last 4 years in New Orleans.
Okay.
And that was it. And this is a lot of us have gone through this, trying to find out who you really are. And I struggle with that, man. Who is Brian Jones? Is he that number 58 on the back of that Saints jersey?
Yeah.
Or is he this guy without the uniform? So I struggled with that transition, life after the game.
Yeah.
And I'm living in LA. And
you want to be an actor, right?
I'm studying acting.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there studying acting and just, not getting anything. End of the year, this is December 1999, I believe. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching this, and Denzel at the time already critically acclaimed. Mm-hmm. But yet he is lamenting the fact that the scripts he gets are basically doo-doo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Denzel can't even get a good script. What the heck do I think I'm doing? And I remember a quote from Oprah Winfrey. She said something about if failure is God's way of telling you you're moving in the wrong direction or something to that sort. So, man, I prayed, and Buck, I sold everything I owned. Mm. And I said, I'm going back to school. I'm going to go back to Texas and finish my degree. Move back to Austin. And it was amazing how once I made that decision, everything just came to be. and I started work on that. And I got into the broadcasting, doing some local radio, and also doing. I actually had to. This is a great story, but I mean, you look back on things. So they offered me the sideline reporting gig for radio.
Okay.
But that they had already promised it to someone by the time I got there. So Lise Hudson, the station manager, said, if you will, I was going to be there a year and a half too anyway, completing my degree. And so she said, well, if you'll carry the parabolic mic this season, we'll give you the sideline reporting the next season. That big old dish, that was my baby. I used to travel with that bad boy. So I said, all right. And you mentioned Kenneth Sims, my man Slimmy, dude. Slimmy said, when you got nothing in your pocket, put pride in your pocket. And so I did that while I was back in school. And the next year I became a sideline reporter, and I was hosting Mac Brown's TV show and Rick Barnes, our basketball coach at the time. And from there, the rest is history. But yeah, it was after the NFL spit me out, man. I had to make that decision to go back to best decision I ever made in my life. And I saw a beautiful quote where, certain things we don't get over, but we have to find a comfortable place to put them.
Yeah.
And that's not to say they won't resurface or bubble up, but you have a better handle on them, and you know how to quiet your mind. And that's a great thing about, the yoga I practice.
You mind sharing what you shared with your mom that made
just being sexually abused as a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Molested as a kid, dude. And had to come to terms with it. And it came to it really, when we were discussing, and you were doing this too, all of us were discussing what transpired there at Penn State.
Yeah.
And with Sandusky. And, we're tasked with talking about our experiences. Well, unfortunately, that was one of my experiences. And I had to speak. If we're going to talk football, we got to talk about how this affects you as a football player and things of that nature. And luckily for me, and I'm not going to say his name here, but everyone know him. If I said his name, he works with me. And man, I had called our producer and shared my story. Said, hey, man, I got to come from this perspective. And unbeknownst to me, he had called the producer and said the same thing.
Oh, wow.
And it's because of him that I had the courage to continue, because I was getting cold feet to walk that walk and share that story. But Buck, after we both shared our story, our traumatic experiences, it was as if a big old mountain was lifted off your shoulders. And then the calls and the number of people who have been afflicted with this just horrific existence. And it was just sickening to know that there were so many others out there, such as us, that had to navigate something of that sort. So that was it, man. It was life changing. It definitely was, and going to therapy definitely helped. Hell, that woman probably still hadn't restocked tissues. I used up every tissue you had in the building.
Well, we appreciate you sharing. I'm not going to bust your chops.
Yeah.
Well, talk a little bit about your career at CBS, because it started out at CSTV and now you've been on for a long time. And tell us a little bit about that. I think that's always interesting to hear how that took place and how it's.
Let's go back to, I'm in Austin. I'm doing all my stuff there. I left the radio station. I was doing the evening drive or afternoon drive. And my agent sent tapes to the Fox Sports Southwest guys. And so I just happened to be playing at a golf tournament in at UT Golf Club. And we're in the food line. And someone pointed out, hey, man, that's the general manager over at Fox Sports Southwest. I went up there and said, man, I've been sending you tapes for weeks. When you going to look at my stuff, man? You know me, ain't no shame in my game.
You ain't really scared to ever say anything. I know that.
I said it just like that. and it was John Heike. And John said, he said, I promise you, when I get back to the office, I'm going to pop your tape in and we'll bring you in for an audition. True to his word, Buck. He brought me in for an audition. I was there with G. Hill, Greg Hill, and Bert, Bill Jones, who's been on TV forever. Yeah. And I didn't let them get a word in. because I had done all my prep.
I can imagine.
I've done all this prep. And as my man Aaron Taylor says, if it gets read, it gets said. And man, I went to work, and next thing you know, I had a gig. So I did that for 2 years. I go to CSTV. You had auditioned. So I auditioned, and Desmond Howard auditions.
Okay.
And so two of the decision makers, one went to Michigan, but he wanted me. The other one went to Syracuse, he wanted Desmond. And the one that wanted Desmond is still my boss to this day. We boys. That's my man.
Great. That's great.
But he wanted, I always tell him, you wanted Desmond. And you know, Desmond's doing a great job where he's doing his thing there at ESPN. But that's how it started. So I was 1 year I was doing both Fox Sports Southwest and CSTV.
Okay.
Then I left and just doing CSTV solely. And then of course that transition once CBS bought it into CBS College Sports Network, now CBS Sports Network, and then eventually I transitioned over to CBS. And I think we just finished our 10th year.
Hot yoga or Pilates? I know the answer to this. It's an easy one.
It's very easy because I haven't experienced the other one, hot yoga.
Okay, all right. What's playing in your Apple Music, Spotify? What you got? What you spending right now?
Afro beats.
Oh,
Burner. Ed Sheeran is all over that genre, man.
Wow. What got you into that?
My girlfriend, she hit me to it, a cut. And then I just started listening to it, the playlist. Like, this is cool and it's different, and it's not all that. Everyone in hip hop sounds the same to me today.
Yeah.
Everyone is saying the same damn thing. I stole your girlfriend. Why can't you get your own girlfriend? I got more money than you. I got my glizzy.
I just sent a tweet by a scenario, I think. Busta Rhymes, Q-Tip. And I sent it to some old hip hop heads. I said, no matter what they say about the new music, it just doesn't get any better than that. So, fish or steak?
Oh, dude, I'm from Texas. Give me a big old porterhouse. Give me a big old porterhouse for two. Hope my gout can handle it.
Well, you might
medium rare, please.
You're holding the team pretty well. Now we need to get you a pick six here pretty soon, or a fumble recovery. So we're gonna make it easy for you. Your favorite place, was it New Orleans or was it LA when you were with the Raiders? I know you had experience in LA, but playing in New Orleans for those years, which one? That was
cool. That was cool, but I love LA. I'm like Tupac. I love LA. I love it.
Oh, well,
people give LA a bad rap, man. I mean, you can get caught into all that pomp and circumstance.
What do you
pretentiousness.
Love? What do you love so much about LA?
The people, because everyone from LA is not from there.
A lot from
Texas.
Texas.
A lot of people.
Mississippi.
Yes, the big black migration during Jim Crow from the South. They all moved out west. And so you got that, you got the regular folks, man, and it's so beautiful, and the weather. I love being in LA.
Well, man, I'm a big lover of LA too. I played in New Orleans like you did, so it's hard. Yep. But I know that question is easy for you, just like it is me. Whenever I get back, I'm flying in. I see all the lights. I can't wait to get off the plane, maybe in and out. A whole lot of
shoot. Take me to Roscoe's, baby. Give me the Roscoe's, Fat Burger. Come on. But you're right, New Orleans, let's give them a shot. I had a blast in New Orleans, man. Talking to a good friend last night who's launching her Cajun seasoning. New Orleans, the people's baby. Everybody's a baby.
Yeah, baby.
Come here, baby.
You want some gumbo? Yeah.
You want the filet gumbo? Yeah. They ask you, they answer for you.
Yeah, that's my mom's people. So I know it well. Well, man, good having you on again, man. And we're gonna do this again. We're gonna do it real soon. So thanks for coming on the Chopping It Up with Buck. Had a good evening. Good talking to you. Thanks for sharing your story. But we're gonna get even deeper next time.
Buck, you know I love you, man. I love you, and you and Reggie, y'all my boys, day one, and anytime I can do anything with you, count me in.
Yeah, brother. You know I love you. You're down like two flat tires. So thanks for coming on.
You got it, baby.